cutting through a pretty substantial stack of source material today,
Mm.
all focused on, well, one of the most universal human aspirations, right? Building lasting wealth.
Mhm.
I mean, we all carry that shared goal, don't we? That common dream of becoming rich. It's sort of the ultimate vision with financial freedom, the end of stress about bills, and just this sheer ability to choose exactly how you spend your finite time on this planet.
It absolutely is the ultimate goal, but the fundamental challenge that comes up in the research we've synthesized for this deep dive,
Uh-huh.
it's that the pursuit of just a big bank balance is actually, well, it's secondary.
Right.
The sources, they immediately pivot away from that traditional kind of shallow definition of rich just being, a high number in your savings account.
Exactly. Our source material really insists that true sustainable wealth isn't defined by your current net worth statement, but rather by what you own. It's defined by the systems you build, the machines you put into place, the assets that generate growth and income and security without needing your constant active labor. It's about being an owner, not just an operator.
And that framework leads us right to our mission for today. We've basically been tasked with distilling 15 specific assets identified across all our research.
Yeah.
These are the fundamental building blocks,
Mm-hmm.
the things that build wealth slowly, steadily, and maybe most importantly, sustainably. So if you're looking for a shortcut to being, well-informed on the foundations of lasting financial freedom, this is pretty much it.
So forget the quick hacks and the volatile high risk trades. This is really the enduring blueprint. And what's fascinating, I think, is the mix. You've got the classic tangible assets you'd sort of expect, property, stocks.
The usual suspect.
Yeah, exactly. But then we also have a surprising number of deeply personal, intangible assets that the sources argue pretty strongly have to be built first.
That's the core insight we really need to get across to you, the listener, right away. This list, it's incredibly broad. It spans everything from psychology to pure finance.
Mm.
And maybe the most surprising fact, and honestly the most encouraging for someone just starting out,
Yeah.
is that the very first asset listed and the absolute capstone, the final asset on this list, they aren't financial at all.
Really?
Not in the traditional sense. They're entirely internal, personal.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're going to dive right into that foundation, which brings us to section 1, the intangible foundation. We're talking about these internal levers, the things you have to pull before any external success can really take hold.
Absolutely. You always need to think of these first 6 assets as like the high-performance operating system for your future wealth creation.
Okay.
Because without maximizing these internal resources, the external financial assets, the real estate, the businesses,
Yeah.
they'll fail to materialize, or they'll just crumble pretty quickly under pressure.
Right, makes sense. And the undisputed leader, sitting right there at number 1 on our list, is knowledge, asset number 1.
According to this research, yeah, everything starts with knowledge.
Yeah.
It's probably the highest leverage investment you can possibly make. The sources outline a really clear value proposition. If you actually dedicate yourself to understanding complex systems,
Like what kind of systems?
like how money really works,
Uh-huh.
how businesses actually run, how human behavior and psychology drive markets. If you understand that stuff, you're operating with an immediate decisive advantage.
Okay.
You basically possess information parity or maybe even superiority
Hmm.
over the average person who's just, reacting to headlines.
I wonder, though, what kind of knowledge are they really prioritizing here? Because just saying learn more stuff is pretty generic advice.
Sure.
Does the source material specify? Like, should we focus on vertical expertise, becoming an expert coder or a legal specialist? Or is it more about horizontal knowledge, things like leadership and communication?
That's a really crucial distinction. And the consensus from the sources seems to be that while that vertical expertise, a hard marketable skill,
Yeah.
that gets you a job,
Right.
but it's the horizontal knowledge that actually builds wealth. We're talking about those high ROI transferable skills, things like negotiation, persuasion, resource allocation, advanced decision making, especially under uncertainty.
Okay, so less about what you know in one field, more about how you operate across fields.
Exactly. The brain's ability to create and synthesize ideas, to solve novel problems, and build efficient systems. That's the core financial function of knowledge, according to this material.
Uh,
The experts we read suggest dedicating at least, say, 5 hours a week specifically to learning things outside your immediate job description.
Wow, 5 hours. That's
Uh,
that's a commitment. But it's extremely actionable advice. The directive isn't abstract. It's read those books, take those courses, get the skills that teach you how to think, not just what to think.
Precisely.
It feels like an investment with a virtually guaranteed return, assuming the knowledge is relevant and you actually apply it consistently.
Exactly. And if knowledge is the software, well, we need the hardware to run it. Which brings us neatly to the resource we are always complaining we don't have enough of: time. That's asset number two.
Ah, time. It's finite, isn't it? And the sources draw a very sharp, almost brutal contrast here. The vast majority of people, they trade their time directly for money. The standard hourly job, the salaried
A
position.
9 to 5 grind.
Right. But wealthy individuals, they treat time differently. It's a resource to be invested, not just spent. They use that limited resource to build systems,
Yeah.
systems that make money for them, whether they're actively working or not.
It's the fundamental difference between doing the work yourself hour after hour and designing and constructing the mechanism that does the work for you. Most people are kind of stuck on a treadmill, focusing on activity, being busy.
Yeah.
Wealth builders focus on leverage, using time to build an asset that generates income perpetually, or at least for a long time.
Okay, but I have to challenge this a bit for the listener who's just starting out, right?
Go for it.
What if you're that person working two demanding jobs? Maybe you've got 3 kids. Where does the source material suggest you carve out the necessary time to build these systems when you barely have time to sleep as it is?
Yeah, that's the reality for many. And that's where the concept of ruthless prioritization really comes in. The sources absolutely acknowledge this process can take years. It's not overnight.
Okay.
But the investment has to start now, even in tiny micro blocks of time. For instance, instead of spending, say, an hour a day scrolling social media,
Guilty.
we all are, but instead dedicate those 60 minutes to creating maybe just one single piece of documentation for a business idea you have, or automating one small personal finance task. The time needs to be spent on activities defined as high leverage: learning, creating, systemizing.
Can you give us some more concrete examples? What do those systems look like in practice beyond just saying a business?
Sure, a system can be as simple as fully documenting a process, like how you onboard a new client or how you run your social media posting. So that process can eventually be delegated or automated without you having to explain it every single time.
Right, okay.
It could be implementing marketing automation software that handles email sequences for a digital product you sell. It could be setting up an automatic investment schedule where the money just leaves your account the day you get paid, no thought required.
Oh, okay.
These are all systems designed to run in the background, minimizing the ongoing time drain and maximizing the income generated per unit of effort you put in initially.
That makes the task feel a bit more achievable, less like needing to invent Facebook tomorrow.
Exactly. Small steps, big leverage over time.
All right. Now we're going to jump ahead a bit in the numbering here because it makes sense to cluster these intangible personal assets together for, logical flow. While knowledge and time are the input, we need to talk about the durability of the engine, so to speak, and the currency of trust. The sources place these later in the list, probably for a reason, but we'll tackle them now for clarity. Health, which is asset 11, and reputation, asset 12.
Good call. Starting with health, asset 11. The fundamental question the research poses here is pretty essential.
Hmm.
What is the point of being rich if you are too sick, or too tired, or too mentally fragmented to actually enjoy it? Or even just to sustain the effort required to reach that goal in the first place?
It really is the ultimate paradox, isn't it? You see people who achieve incredible financial success, but then they find they've completely neglected the vehicle, their own body and mind that was supposed to carry them through that freedom.
Yeah.
They have the money, but absolutely no energy left.
And the sources are, well, they're unequivocal about this. The body is the engine that powers your life. Financial success, especially the kind needed to manage complex assets, rests entirely on this foundation.
So it's not just nice to have.
Not at all. This is why things that sound maybe boring and simple, like consistent exercise, getting adequate sleep, paying attention to nutrition, are listed as core assets. A well-maintained mind and body allow you to think better, manage stress more effectively, work smarter, and, yes, longer when necessary. And, crucially, to maintain the mental stamina, you need to capitalize on those high-stress, high-reward opportunities when they finally show up. If your engine breaks down, your entire financial plan just stalls.
Okay, engine maintenance is key. And the twin asset to health is reputation, asset 12. This one's fascinating because, as the sources say, it takes years of consistent effort to build.
Decades sometimes.
But it can be absolutely annihilated in seconds by a single ethical slip-up or a broken promise.
The core principle here is the trust factor. Fundamentally, people do business with, offer capital to, extend partnerships to, and grant opportunities to those they trust. Implicitly. You can have the absolute best business idea in the world, the most innovative product, but if your reputation is even slightly spotty, investors and clients will almost always choose the trustworthy, maybe slightly less innovative option every single time. Reliability trumps brilliance often.
So the sources must detail the specific actionable behavior needed to cultivate this asset, right? It's about consistency, delivering on promises even when it's inconvenient or costs you money.
Yes, that's baseline.
Yeah.
But what about when things inevitably go wrong? Because mistakes happen in business all the time.
Good question. What do they say about that?
That's actually the moment where your reputation is truly forged or broken. The key insight is this. If you make a mistake, you must fix it. And you must fix it fast. Not just fixed, but ideally overfixed. Go above and beyond. That speed and thoroughness of correction demonstrates integrity and competence, especially under pressure. The research shows the return on this investment in a solid reputation is almost infinite. A good name creates high-value opportunities that purely transactional money just cannot buy.
Wow. So it gives you a competitive edge before you even walk into the negotiation room. People already trust you.
Precisely. It pre-sells you.
Okay, let's talk about the people around you then, which leads us perfectly to network asset 10.
Ah, yes, your network. This is often your greatest hidden asset, the power of association. One of the core principles here is that success, especially significant success, is rarely achieved in total isolation.
Right.
The sources really emphasize that the people you know, and maybe more importantly, the people who know you and are willing to vouch for you, can fundamentally change your entire trajectory.
I love that idea that just a single conversation, maybe over coffee, can open a door you didn't even know existed. But how do you actually build this? It's clearly not about just collecting thousands of LinkedIn connections or business cards, right? It
Yeah.
has to be about the quality and the depth of those connections.
Absolutely. The mandate from the research is very clear. You must proactively surround yourself with smarter, more experienced, and more motivated people.
Mm.
This isn't passive association. It's intentional curation of your circle.
Okay.
But here's the critical, often missed step the sources stress. You must first focus on providing value to your network, not just thinking about what you can extract from it.
Ah, so give first.
Exactly. Don't just show up asking for favors. Ask how you can help them. Become known as a resource, someone who connects people, someone who shares insightful information without expecting anything back immediately, someone who helps solve problems,
That completely shifts the dynamic, doesn't it? You become an asset to the network.
which then provides a kind of geometric return back to you. It makes people want to help you succeed.
Mm.
And the specific insight highlighted over and over in the sources is the exponential importance of mentors. A truly high-quality mentor, someone who has already achieved the kind of success you're aiming for, can save you years, sometimes decades, of painful, expensive mistakes and just wasted effort.
They give you the shortcut map.
Basically, yeah. They provide the map and the compass for a path you haven't navigated yet. The sources boil this down to a pretty clear, maybe even sobering equation that should stick with everyone listening. Your net worth often grows with your network.
Wow. That connects your relational capital directly to your financial capital in a way that feels almost mathematical, inevitable.
It often is.
Okay, next we move to creativity, asset 14. And we really have to reframe this one because the average person hears creativity and thinks, art, music.
Painting, poetry.
Yeah, but the sources define it much more pragmatically as systematic problem solving.
Yes, reframing creativity is absolutely essential in a wealth-building context. It is not about artistic expression per se. It is about applying unique insights to solve market problems in new, highly efficient ways. It's about finding proprietary shortcuts that others miss.
So creative thinkers are the ones who don't just accept the status quo.
Exactly. They see the inefficiency, the friction, the unmet need, and then design a new system. Whether that's a totally new business model, a clever piece of software, or just a much better way to deliver an existing service.
And connecting this directly to finance seems obvious. In business, creativity equals innovation. Innovation equals market differentiation, which ultimately translates to pricing power and potentially exponential returns. You generally can't generate massive wealth just by doing the same old thing everyone else is doing, maybe slightly cheaper.
That's really the crux of it. The mandate is to think smarter,
Mm-hmm.
not just work harder, which loops back to the time asset we talked about.
Yeah.
You use creativity to design those systems, those automations, those processes that make your effort nonlinear. The most successful wealth builders are often those who creatively automate or outsource tasks, essentially inventing time for themselves so they can focus on the next level of creation or strategy.
This requires a certain mental elasticity, doesn't it? A willingness to constantly question, is there a better way?
It absolutely does.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us finally to the capstone of this whole intangible section, the asset that the sources literally label as the most important asset of all mindset, asset 15.
Wow. Okay. So this is where everything else begins and ends, really. If the rest of the list is the how-to, this is the why and the internal engine that drives it all.
You got it. The research demands a critical shift in your fundamental beliefs about the world and your place in it. There's a decisive split identified between two primary worldviews that basically determine who builds wealth and who stays stuck.
Okay, what are they?
The first worldview is the scarcity mindset. It's often characterized by that feeling of being trapped or stuck, believing that life happens to you.
Like you're a victim of circumstance.
Exactly. A victim of circumstances, the economy, your boss, maybe just bad luck. This inevitably leads to fear, often paralysis, and hoarding every penny out of dread for the future.
Right. And the alternative.
The alternative is the wealth-generating worldview,
Yeah.
the abundance mindset. This is believing that life happens for you, not to you.
Okay.
This philosophy encourages finding opportunities everywhere, even inside setbacks, because you fundamentally believe there's a lesson or a chance for growth hidden within every challenge. This mindset frames problems not as terrifying roadblocks, but as potentially high-value puzzles that maybe only you are positioned to solve.
Okay, but how does the source material suggest you practically implement this mindset shift? It sounds great, but it's easy to just say, think positively. That rarely works on its own.
No, it doesn't. And the sources agree. It requires tactical steps, not just, philosophical musing. First, they suggest intentional exposure to calculated risk.
Small risks.
Small, informed financial or professional risks, taking them repeatedly and observing that the worst-case scenario is almost never fatal. This helps break that fear cycle. Second, things like journaling and active reframing, literally writing down negative events and forcing yourself to list, say, 3 ways that event actually provided an opportunity or taught you a crucial piece of knowledge.
Interesting. So reprogramming your reaction.
Exactly. And third, there's the contrast in spending habits they observe. Rich people generally focus more on creating more value for the world, which they trust will generate more capital, rather than solely focusing on saving every single penny out of fear. They operate from a position of abundance.
That shift from scarcity to abundance, it feels like the ultimate payoff because it dictates everything else, doesn't it? How you approach risk, how you network, what you decide to learn.
Absolutely. The source material is unambiguous on this. If you fix your mindset, everything else will follow. Without the right internal foundation, the other 14 assets remain either totally out of reach or just impossible to sustain long term.
Wow. Okay, this section alone, I mean, it should be enough for you, the listener, to maybe pause and reevaluate some core habits and beliefs. We've covered 6 incredibly highly leveraged, non-monetary assets that you need to be constantly consciously working on. They really are the prerequisite for any kind of lasting financial freedom.
Couldn't agree more. These set the stage for everything else.
So we've pulled the internal levers, we've established the operator with the right knowledge, mindset, network, health, all of it. Now, how do we apply that internal leverage externally? That transition is key. If Section 1 built the operator, Section 2 is about building the operation, the earning machines, traditional capital assets.
Right. Now we're into the classic stable wealth generators. These are the ones that require initial capital, yes, but more importantly, they require a sophisticated understanding of how they generate returns, both through appreciation and, crucially, through cash flow.
Okay.
These are the tangible systems that those intangible assets we just discussed allow you to build, manage, and eventually scale.
Let's start with the time-tested champion,
Right.
a foundational asset for almost every financially successful person we've ever studied. Real estate, asset 4.
Real estate. It has been, and it really remains, one of the oldest and arguably safest ways to compound wealth over the long term, primarily because it's tangible, you can touch it. It's finite, they're not making more land, as they say, and it can be pretty easily leveraged.
Mm-hmm.
It generates returns through 2 main paths: long-term appreciation, meaning the value of the asset itself typically goes up over time,
Right.
and very importantly, monthly income generation through rent.
Okay, but to really qualify as a deep dive, we need to go beyond just appreciation and rent. What's the single biggest factor, according to the sources, that distinguishes real estate as such a unique wealth builder, something that often makes it surpass even stocks for building foundational wealth?
Good question. I'd say it's the combination of leverage and the tax advantages. Think about it. Most people, when they buy stocks, they use 100% of their own cash, right?
Yeah, generally.
In real estate, you can often use the bank's capital, a mortgage, to acquire 80%, maybe even 90% or more of the asset's value. This is financial leverage. So if the property appreciates by, say, 10% in a year,
Right.
you didn't just earn 10% on your own down payment, your equity. You earn 10% on the full value of the asset while only putting up maybe 20% of the cash yourself. That dramatically accelerates your return on equity.
That's a huge multiplier
Yeah.
effect. And the tax advantage you mentioned.
The tax advantage specifically. Depreciation is immense, especially in places like the U.S. Even if the property is physically holding its value or even going up, the tax authorities often allow you to deduct a portion of the structure's value each year as a depreciation expense against your rental income.
Even if it's not actually depreciating.
Exactly. It's a paper expense. This means you can be generating substantial positive cash flow from rents, but showing little or no taxable income for years. It's like an internal subsidy specifically for wealth builders in this asset class, and it's a huge reason why the research consistently emphasizes real estate.
That's powerful. The sources also emphasize accessibility here too, right? It's not just about buying skyscrapers in Manhattan or luxury homes.
Not at all.
They stress that even acquiring a small piece of land, maybe a single family home to rent out or a duplex where you live in one side and rent the other, that can be the critical first step. It is absolutely a slow game, no doubt.
Definitely a slow game.
But over the years, the sources describe this compounding effect. Appreciation, leverage working for you, tenants paying down your debt, those tax benefits is turning into something incredibly powerful and generationally stable.
That slow game distinction is really important to internalize. Real estate isn't liquid. You can't just click a button and sell it in 5 seconds like a stock.
True.
And that very illiquidity, which some see as a downside, actually forces the investor to be patient. It encourages a long-term mindset, allowing that compounding effect of appreciation, leverage, and debt paydown to really do the heavy lifting over decades.
Makes sense. Okay, next up, another classic and perhaps the most accessible starting point for many listeners because the barrier to entry can be so low now. Stocks, asset 5.
Yes, stocks. This is fundamentally about quiet part ownership. When you buy even a single share of a strong established company, you are literally becoming a fractional owner of that business.
Right.
And as the company grows, as it innovates, as it generates profits, the sources affirm, so does your personal wealth, reflected in the stock price and potentially dividends.
Now, we should probably reassure the listener here. You absolutely do not need to be an expert day trader glued to flashing charts all day.
Oh, definitely not.
In fact, the source material specifically advises against that high-frequency, high-stress game. They often label it closer to gambling or speculation than actual long-term wealth building.
That's absolutely correct. The key strategy identified again and again is long-term, mostly passive investing. The sources strongly advocate for methods like buying broadly diversified index funds, or ETFs. These essentially allow you to own a tiny slice of the entire market, or large segments of it, automatically. This method minimizes individual company risk and builds wealth quietly in the background by capturing the general relentless upward trend of capitalism over decades. The core recommendation is crystal clear. Buy and hold strong companies or diversified funds for years, focusing on time in the market, not trying to time the market.
Right, that patient accumulation of productive equity. And that leads us perfectly into the functional definition of financial freedom itself, which is really embodied in cash flow investments, asset 9.
Cash flow. This is perhaps the most crucial concept to really grasp, because it represents the moment you truly shift from trading your time for money to having your money actively work for you. Cash flow is money coming in regularly. Could be monthly, quarterly, annually, not just a one-time lump sum when you finally sell an appreciated asset like a stock or property.
This is the asset that truly grants freedom, isn't it? Because appreciation might make you paper rich, but it doesn't pay the electricity bill. Cash flow does.
Precisely. And we probably need to distinguish between, say, operating cash flow and passive cash flow.
Hmm.
The first might come from actively managing something, running your own business day to day, consulting work. That still requires your time.
Okay.
The second type, passive cash flow, is the real goal here. It's generated by an asset you own that requires minimal, if any, ongoing time investment from you. This is what the sources emphasize. Cash flow is the only thing that guarantees money is consistently working for the investor, even when they are sleeping, on vacation, or focusing on building the next asset.
Let's maybe talk briefly about the different risk profiles, often associated with focusing purely on appreciation versus focusing on yield or cash flow.
That's a good point. When you look at, say, high-growth tech stocks, those are primarily appreciation plays, right? They rarely pay significant dividends, meaning they provide little to no immediate cash flow, but they might double or triple in value over a few years. Big if sometimes.
Right. High potential, high uncertainty.
Exactly. Cash flow investments, on the other hand, things like certain types of rental properties, maybe high dividend paying stocks or bonds, are often more stable,
Hmm.
perhaps slower growing in terms of underlying value, but they provide that immediate, regular income. For a beginner aiming for financial freedom, the sources often recommend prioritizing building up that reliable cash flow first, maybe enough to cover basic living expenses.
Okay, build the floor first.
Right. Build the income floor first, and then focus more heavily on appreciation for long-term growth once your basic needs are met passively.
The examples provided in the source are pretty clear. Rent from real estate, dividends from stocks, maybe affiliate commissions from a website, sales from digital products you created once. Notice how these are all generated by systems you put in place,
Hmm.
powered by the knowledge and time we talked about back in section 1.
It connects everything perfectly. You use knowledge to identify or create the asset. You invest your time initially to build the system, and then the system delivers cash flow. That cash flow then grants you the freedom to invest more time into building even better, maybe bigger systems. It becomes a virtuous, self-reinforcing loop.
Okay, that gives us the traditional tangible foundation, the real estate, the stocks, the focus on cash flow.
Ciao.
Let's pivot hard. Let's move into section 3, the modern multipliers. This is where we really leverage the incredible power of scale and technology to completely break that old time for money link and potentially accelerate wealth creation dramatically.
Yes, this section really represents the great democratization of entrepreneurship that we're living through. The ability now to reach global audiences and scale operations almost instantly, often without needing massive physical infrastructure or upfront capital. It's something that was basically impossible for the average person just 30 years ago.
Totally different landscape. And the first asset here is the one most directly tied to achieving that massive scale and breaking free. Your own business, asset 6.
Starting your own business is consistently called out in the research as the single most direct, potentially highest leverage path to getting rich. And the sources are quick to encourage starting small.
Right, doesn't have to be aiming for a multinational conglomerate on day one.
Not at all. It could be a simple online store using Shopify, maybe creating and selling a digital course on a topic you know well, or even a local service business like cleaning or landscaping that you learn how to systematize, automate, and scale beyond yourself.
The essential component, though, the non-negotiable feature of a business that makes it a true wealth-building asset versus just creating a high-paying but demanding job for yourself, is that it must be able to scale beyond your personal time.
That is the absolute crucial distinction. Always ask, does this business work without me?
Mm-hmm.
If the business only functions, only makes money, When you are physically present and doing the core work,
Mm-hmm.
you haven't really built an asset yet. You've just created a job, maybe a better paying one, but still a job tethered to your hours.
We're looking for leverage, always leverage.
Always. The ultimate outcome we're aiming for is building a machine, a system where you could eventually hire people to run the operations, where technology handles marketing and distribution, and where the business continues growing, generating profit, and ideally runs without the founder needing to be involved in the day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
When you reach that point, when the revenue is truly decoupled from your direct time input, that's when you've achieved those twin goals: financial freedom and personal freedom, time freedom.
And what the research really suggests, which is exciting, is that the barrier to entry for starting something is lower than it has ever been. You can realistically start with 0 employees, using readily available technology to act as your first 10 virtual staff members, handling tasks from marketing to customer service.
Absolutely. The research highlights the power of things like the minimum viable product MVP
Yeah.
approach. Get a simple solution out to market quickly, test it, get real customer feedback, and then iterate and improve based on that data. This methodology dramatically reduces the risk associated with starting a business from scratch, making it much more feasible for the average listener to start small, maybe even on the side, while still keeping that ultimate goal of scale in mind.
Okay, so business is the vehicle. Next, let's look at the asset that supports and dramatically amplifies your business, or even just your career. Personal brand, asset 3.
Right, personal brand. This is essentially defined as your public reputation, but specifically within a specialized field or niche. And importantly, the sources clarify again and again. You do not need to be famous like a celebrity to have a powerful, wealth-generating personal brand.
Okay, so what do you need?
You just need to be known for something valuable, something specific, and known for delivering it consistently.
Let's maybe contrast what the average person might think of as a brand, maybe Instagram followers, versus what the wealth builder actually needs from their brand.
That's a great distinction. The average person often thinks of follower counts, vanity metrics. The wealth builder thinks in terms of specialization and trust. A powerful personal brand means you are the go-to person known for reliably teaching advanced Excel modeling, or for your insightful analysis of SaaS software trends, or maybe for your consistent ability to connect key players within a specific industry.
So the value is in the niche expertise and the reliability.
Exactly. The specialty and the consistency of the messaging and the value you provide.
And the power of this brand, then, is in its almost magnetic effect, right?
Precisely. A strong, valuable personal brand naturally attracts opportunities to you. Things like high-paying job offers, lucrative partnership deals, premium clients who seek you out specifically. And this often happens while you sleep, as the saying goes. It fundamentally turns you from someone who is constantly chasing opportunities into someone who has relevant opportunities delivered to their inbox, often pre-qualified and ready to go.
Whoa. It acts like an automatic filter, too, doesn't it?
It does. If you have a strong, specialized brand, people often come to you already understanding your value proposition, respecting your expertise, and they're generally less likely to haggle over fees or terms. This allows the individual or the business to command premium pricing almost immediately, which is absolutely critical for profitability and for scaling effectively.
Okay, that makes sense. Now we enter the realm of really true modern wealth creation, the stuff enabled directly by scale and technology. Intellectual property, IP, and digital assets, assets 7 and 8. These feel very interconnected.
They are very interconnected. Let's start with IP, which is Asset 7. Its core benefit is basically the dream scenario for breaking the time-money link. Create something valuable once, and then earn from it potentially for years or even decades with minimal ongoing effort.
Okay, what falls under IP?
This covers a pretty wide range of things you create that can be legally protected. Think books, online courses, unique video series, proprietary software code, patented inventions, unique designs, specific methodologies or frameworks you've developed, even trademarked brand names and logos.
This is the beauty of digital work, as the sources often describe it, because that IP, once created, doesn't need to sleep.
Exactly. Once the main effort of creation is complete, that digital asset can be sold, distributed, licensed, or accessed globally, 247, often with near zero marginal cost for each additional user or sale. That's the definitive scalable path to passive income that everyone talks about.
To maybe deepen our understanding of IP, could we distinguish between the main types mentioned in the research, like copyright versus patent?
Sure, that's useful. Broadly speaking, copyright protects original works of authorship, written text like a book or blog, artistic works, video scripts, music. Patents protect novel inventions and processes, maybe a unique piece of software architecture, a new manufacturing technique, a specific scientific discovery. Trademarks protect brand identifiers, names, logos, slogans that distinguish your goods or services in the marketplace.
Okay.
And the research suggests that true wealth builders don't just create and sell products based on their IP. They often look for opportunities to license these protections to others. Earning royalties or ongoing licensing fees from patents or trademarks can be even more lucrative and passive than just selling the initial product outright.
Yeah.
That's where you see really exponential earning potential sometimes.
Right, leveraging the IT itself. And this naturally extends into the next asset, digital assets, asset 8, which the sources are calling modern gold. What exactly falls under this category?
So digital assets are the online properties you build and own, which often serve as the platform for distributing your IP or running your online business. This includes things like websites with established high-quality traffic, large engaged email lists, fully built-out software platforms or SaaS products, high-performing automated marketing funnels, popular podcasts with a dedicated audience, or established social media pages with a real community around them. These are valuable online properties in their own right, separate from the content on them sometimes.
And the comparison the sources make is pretty bold and explicit here. They state that digital real estate is as real as physical real estate now, and sometimes even more profitable.
It's a strong claim, but the economics often back it up.
But how are these things actually valued? I mean, physical real estate is based on square footage, location, comparable sales. How do you put a price tag on a website or a podcast?
Good question. The valuation for digital assets is based primarily on two key factors: the size and quality of the audience or traffic, and the existing demonstrable monetization channels. So a website that consistently gets, say, 100,000 unique targeted visitors every month and has maybe 5 different proven revenue streams attached to it, like advertising income, affiliate partnerships, direct digital product sales, maybe a subscription. That is a highly sellable asset. These businesses are often valued at a multiple of their annual or even monthly profit. Sometimes 30x, 40x, even 50x monthly profit isn't uncommon for a well-run digital asset.
Wow.
The underlying revenue model is simple but incredibly powerful. As your content or platform grows and attracts a loyal audience, brands will pay you substantial amounts through sponsorships, advertising, collaborations, just to get access to that audience's attention. And the leverage is just immense. One video, one article, one podcast episode can potentially reach millions of people globally, something nearly impossible to achieve with traditional physical assets or local businesses alone.
Mind-boggling scale. And finally, the tool that underpins and multiplies all these modern efforts, both the creation of IP and the management of a scalable digital business, is technology, Asset 13.
Right. Technology is described not just as a helpful tool, but as a massive asset in its own right in today's world. It's the ultimate force multiplier. And the key insight is that modern tech has democratized access to leverage that only huge corporations could afford even a generation ago. Now it's available to pretty much everyone.
Let's talk about the specific mechanisms mentioned in the source material. How does modern tech, things like AI, automation software, online platforms, provide that, say, 10x leverage for the average person trying to build wealth?
It works primarily through two avenues:
Hmm.
output acceleration and access expansion. Output acceleration means using tools like AI for drafting initial content outlines or emails, advanced data analysis tools for understanding customers, customer service automation through chatbots, automated scheduling systems. These tools can save literally hundreds of hours of manual labor.
Mm-hmm.
This frees up the wealth builder's most precious resource, their time asset too, allowing them to focus on higher value, strategic, creative problem solving, asset 14.
So it's not just about using like Microsoft Excel better. It's about leveraging no-code platforms, AI writing assistants, and automation tools to completely bypass the need for hiring a huge, expensive tech team, at least initially.
Exactly. And the access component is just as crucial. Online platforms and digital tools instantly give even a small one-person operation global reach. They allow a business owner sitting in a small town somewhere to sell a digital course or a physical product to an audience literally anywhere in the world with an internet connection.
Right.
This access completely breaks the old geographic constraints that limited traditional physical real estate or local service businesses. The sources also note that even just learning relatively simple digital skills yourself, like how to optimize an online marketing funnel or basic video editing or setting up email automation, can instantly increase your market value because you can now manage technology that might otherwise require hiring expensive specialists.
So technology is really the fundamental infrastructure that allows all the other assets, especially the digital ones, to operate at peak efficiency and achieve that massive scale.
Wow. Okay, that brings us to the end of our 15 asset breakdown. It's an incredibly comprehensive list, isn't it? Spanning everything from your internal philosophy all the way to global digital distribution systems.
It really is. We've covered pretty much everything from the emotional engine, that mindset piece, all the way to the practical distribution channels like digital assets and the tech that powers them. Now let's try to bring it all together in the final stage, synthesis and final takeaways. Right. So just to recap for everyone listening, we looked at roughly four distinct categories here. First, that intangible foundation: knowledge, time, health, reputation, network, creativity, and that crucial mindset. Then the traditional capital assets: real estate, stocks, and the focus on cash flow. And finally, the modern multipliers: your own business, your personal brand, IP, and digital assets and technology. The overarching theme running through all of it remains crystal clear. Sustainable wealth is fundamentally about ownership and about building systems that work for you.
hmm
It's not just about trading your limited time and effort directly for cash.
And the strategic advice that comes directly from synthesizing these sources is crucial right now because honestly, looking at a list of 15 essential things you need to do can feel pretty overwhelming, maybe even paralyzing.
Yeah, where do you even start?
Exactly. So the core advice is actually one of reassurance. You absolutely do not need to own or master all 15 of these assets right now or even ever. Trying to do that, especially all at once, is probably just a recipe for burnout and failure.
Okay, so what is the advice then?
The advice distilled from the material is clear and, frankly, quite gentle. Start small and pick one or two key areas to really focus on building slowly and consistently. For many listeners, especially if you're younger or just starting this journey, that might mean focusing almost entirely on asset one knowledge and asset 15 mindset for the first 6 months or even the first year.
Right, build the foundation first.
Build the internal foundation before you even think about touching something complex like asset four, real estate, or asset 6, starting a business. It's explicitly stated this is not a sprint to acquire everything on the list. It's a long-term commitment to steady, incremental, compounding progress in a few key areas at a time.
This is the accumulation principle really at work, isn't it?
Absolutely. The research really wants to emphasize that wealth building is fundamentally a journey, not a destination you reach overnight. It's characterized by patience and, above all, consistency. Every skill you learn, every positive habit you form, and every valuable connection you make adds up over time. Each small investment you make today, whether it's dedicating just an hour a day to learning a new skill, or automatically investing $50 a month into an index fund, or taking that first step to build your reputation, each one compounds its benefit over years, often in ways you can't even predict. The difference between someone who finds themselves financially comfortable or even wealthy at age 55 and someone who doesn't is often just 5 or 10 years of consistent, maybe even low-level effort focused on these foundational assets that started way back in their 20s or 30s.
It's the compounding effect applied not just to money, but to knowledge, habits, relationships, everything.
Exactly. It's holistic compounding.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we really want to leave you, the listener, with the single most critical distinction highlighted across all the source material we reviewed. This is the core definition, the mindset shift you need to carry forward into your professional and personal life from today.
That crucial distinction is this. Money doesn't make you rich. Money itself is just a tool. It's a placeholder, a medium of exchange. It is simply the fuel. It's not the engine.
Assets do. Assets are the machines. Assets are the systems. Assets are the engines that turn that fuel, that money, into lasting freedom and security.
So we'd encourage you to take a moment now, maybe after this finishes, and reflect honestly on your current position, using the knowledge from this deep dive as a framework. Which of these 15 assets are you currently neglecting the most? Is it one of those foundational, intangible assets? Perhaps your health is suffering, or your time is being wasted on low-value activities, leaking your energy and potential? Are you squandering your most valuable internal resources? Or maybe you're neglecting one of the modern multipliers. Perhaps you haven't considered how developing some form of intellectual property, even a small digital product, or building a simple digital asset like a niche website, could give you massive leverage to finally break free from that exhausting time for money trade.
Finding that specific gap for you and then making a conscious decision to start building just one high leverage asset consistently this year. That is the true starting point for building sustainable wealth. So we encourage you, take action today, even if it's small. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes, thank you. And until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep growing your wealth, one compounding asset at a time.